Morning crew, welcome to Sunday. Now, thanks Holly, appreciate that. It is day 2 of the engine stand build, and I've been having a bit of a think. While I was asleep, my brain, like many of us, engineers, people that fix things, troubleshooters, mechanics, we wake up middle of the night going, oh, eureka, or I need to check that, or more likely, did I do that bolt up, So I've been having a bit of a rake around, a bit of a think, and I'm not too sure yet about using the Patrol hub, right? I think it's a great idea, but it may have some disadvantages. One of them is, how do we put some leverage on the engine to be able to rotate it? On the original SCA one, the tube that goes through that A-pillar, the center pillar, the main pillar, the vertical, protrudes beyond the other side of the outer tube that's welded to the A-pillar and has some holes in it, so you can get a bar in there and, get some leverage on the engine to rotate it. And then you put the pin through. This design doesn't give us that. So is that a good thing? Well, not really. But it should move a lot easier because it's got bearings. So anyway, this morning I came across an old weightlifting machine that Ben got given from a gym in Auckland. And Ben, he brings all sorts of stuff. He's like a scavenger. He goes off into the wilderness, does a week's work, comes back down to the cottage some weekends with a truck full of stuff that he's managed to scavenge in Auckland. So I went through and I thought, well, that one of those components, one of those parts, big solid steel bars, bright steel, possibly chromed, don't know, would be great for the pivot at the bottom. So I've been working on that for now. So this is one of the bars. It's just under an inch, well, it could be about an inch in diameter. It's a monster. It's solid, super strong, weightlifters. It's probably gone up and down 1,000,000 times in the gym. Those were the days, weren't they? Not been in the gym for a long time. But a part of the machine had these sort of bushes running on the tube. And fits real nice, works really well. So I was thinking, man, I can use those. I can use these, and I can mount these off the bottom of my A-pillar, which is going to be separate and not welded to the base, and then just cut this bar down, drill a couple of holes in my A-post, and then put the bar through and have a couple of holes at the end to put some R-clips through, or if I can't find those, some bolts, whatever, just to stop the pin from falling out. Now, the benefit of having the pivot here, if I design it right, I'm not too sure how we're going to do it yet, but for storage, I said before, it doesn't matter about space, we've got loads of room. Well, we actually don't have a lot of room, and Ben said, hey, look, it'd be great if we could make it so that we could actually fold that A-pillar down when the tool's not in use. So originally I was going to put a bit of angle iron at the front with a couple of captive bolts to adjust the angle, which still needs to happen. I've got to be able to adjust the angle somehow, but I might have to do it just off the rear of the piece. I don't know, have a bolt going into it with a thread so you can wind it backwards and forwards, but of course the angle's going to change a little bit, so that would need to pivot. All gets a bit complicated, but I'll work it out. There'll be a cunning plan, as always. So, next job, in actual fact, was to measure everything up. So, I've done a quick sketch. Let's take a look. Used.
You don't paint something without working.
Honestly. Okie dokie. So I went back outside, remeasured the SCA stand because I want to get the height about the same. And the distance from the base, this is like the top of the leg, one of the legs, up to the centre line of their tube that's welded to their vertical piece is 640 mil. Remember that. So you remember this drawing from yesterday? I sort of, made it 650 because what the hell, bit bigger's better, right? And from our hub, the center of our hub, to the inner diameter of the disc, the smallest diameter of the disc, because I want the disc to be protruding from the top, so I can put a bit of angle iron in there and a pin to stop the thing from rotating. But this is still work in progress, so it might change. It's 95 mil from the center of the hub to the outer part of the hub, not the brake disc. So that would give us 745 mil of that heavy duty box section, the massive stuff, the same stuff we used for the base, less whatever the height is of the pivot assembly. So pivot is over leaf. There we go. So a quick drawing of the pivot, very basic. So we've got basically the vertical piece A. We've labeled that on the previous diagrams, and we've got some large brackets here. We'll probably use that really thick plate we've got for that, and just we can hole bore, put a hole in there using a hole saw or something to allow that solid bar to pass through with hopefully not too much clearance. I don't want it rattling around. Can't do it in the lathe because I haven't got a 4-jaw chuck. So I don't want to get too technical with this. I'm just trying to use the scrap that's kicking around. And the dotted line represents this piece. Basically, I reckon, without messing the drawing up, I reckon we can cut this around about here, and then that will insert into the base of box section A, the main box section, the vertical piece, and I can just weld it straight in. Now that will mean that the pivot won't actually be down the center line. I don't think it's a massive problem. I'll put the pivot on the engine side, so the center line of this will be biased towards the engine side, and then it'll make no difference at all, I'm sure. Okay, although if I did it the other way, on the other side, it will probably aid. Nah, it should make no difference because it's on risers. So no, we're fine. We'll stick with that. Andy, you're brainstorming and messing it up. Okay, so we've got two of those. Hopefully both of them should fit into the big box. And we need to allow 100 mil from the base of the box section to the base of the actual stand itself. 100 mil will give us enough clearance for that pivot to work just fine, especially when it's folded down. Remember the pivot's biased this side, engine's over here, so when that folds down like this, there'll be plenty of clearance around here, which is what we need to do. We don't need to go halfway and start to foul, which would be bad. It'd be stupid. Wouldn't work, would it? So I've got to take that into consideration as well. So the next job, because that's 100, we now need to deduct 100 from the 745, so we need a length of 645 millimeters for the actual box section. I've got to cut that next, haven't I? Okay, so in the interest of keeping this video reasonably short, and I reckon it's probably going to be at least an hour long, and my apologies, but that's sort of what fabrication videos end up being, because I like to show you stuff. I'm not going to cover any more or film any more of the actual cutting of the steel. You know how to cut steel. If you don't, it's shown previously in this video, and if you still don't, well, you probably can't make an engine stand anyway, so not a problem. But it gets a bit boring just watching me cut through steel all the time, and I don't like to use fast forward, where you speed the video up, because it messes up all the sound and it just takes longer to edit. Not that I'm lazy, sometimes it causes the rendering to be a real problem. Anyway, I'll crack on. I'll get that box section cut to length. I'll get these, or we will probably work out the width on these, get these cut, get them cleaned up, get them welded in, and then we've got to make the brackets that go on the base for the pin to go through. Cut the pin, drill the pin, and then we do a test fit. Yeah, the caster's probably going to get done last, all right? Just to let you know, the wheels are probably going to go on last. Okay, see you shortly. Okay, it's cut. Still a bit hot. Anyway, we all good? Oh, grease. Oh, no. Right. So the plan of attack is for this to fit on the end And by the looks of it, actually, I think we can get two side by side. So look. Oh yes, perfect. Look at that. Made to measure. Looks to me like we just need to extend this cut across here and it should drop straight in. Maybe a little bit of grinding work on there, give it a good clean up. Recess it in so this part is actually inside the box, and then we'll chamfer all this, weld it in. Dum, 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 dum. Right, we'll just cut that across there. Nice short cut. Short cut. That flat disc. This flat disc is doing incredibly well actually. Never seen the brand before, don't know how good they are. It's done a fair bit and it's still holding together, so that's a win in my book. They're both cleaned up. So then the next job is, well, we need to cut the bar length that goes through the middle of this assembly, because we need to make damn sure that these, when I weld them in, are both parallel and aligned. Very, very important, because once they're welded in, it'll be too late. So let's have a quick measure up and see how long that bar needs to be. Okay, so about there. That is 170 across there. Now we've also got the brackets that are going to be welded to the base of the stand here and here, plus we need some extra sticking out to drill and put the R-clips. Okay, so how thick's the steel we're going to use? Let's find out. I'm going to use this stuff because it's really thick and I've got lots of it. This is from, Ben was very upset actually, this is from a Park Tools bicycle stand base that we came across years ago. It's been in the garden. I've been using it for stand axle stands on ROVs. So it was buried in the ground. It's a bit rusty, but it'll work. But I don't know how thick it is. Where's the verniers? Okay, we'll just zeroize those. We're being a bit precise, but anyway, it's near as damn it's 11.8 mil, if you can see that. There you go. So we'll say 12. It's not precise, doesn't need to be. Okie dokie, so side view on now. We'll draw A again. It's going to come down like that. Not to scale, people. There will be, I'll draw it as one piece. There'll be the tube, which is welded, this is with the bushes in it, to the base. It's got some little bits like that, look. Again, not to scale. We've then got the brackets, which will stand here. They're going to be about 50 mil in height, I think, maybe more. I'll add that later. We've got another bracket on this side. And we know that they are 12. This distance here, we've measured at 170, 12, and then we need the steel bar that runs through the middle to protrude a distance from the end, so we can put those R-clips in. So if we protrude it, it doesn't really matter, best not to make it too short. If we protrude it, let's say 30 mil at each end, that's ample. That will be 24, 170 and 30, that's 230 and 254, I think it'll be. 254 millimeters. Is my maths correct? 170 add a 30 is 200, add 30 is 230, add 24 is 254. So let's make it 255. What the hell? Just, you know, because it's easy to measure, isn't it? 255 it is. Bit of bar. Now we'll make it a little bit longer so I can tidy the cut end up in the lathe. It doesn't look scruffy. So we'll make it 257, I don't know, 260. I can tidy that end up as well. Let's make it 260. Well, that's not going to mark on there, is it? It's super strong. Okay, we're going to have to use this. 260 is probably a bit more than we need, but anyway, it's all good. So there we go. And it's the outside of the splodge is 260. Always good to cut a little bit longer, and you can always make it smaller later on. Make it too small, well, you're stuffed, aren't you? Right, done. Let's head over to the lathe, get that end cleaned up, and I'll probably refresh that end at the same time. I think it's just bright steel. I'm not sure. It's pretty hard to cut. Oh, does it? Oh, no. Why is my lathe never big enough? That's rather disappointing. Definitely doesn't fit, does it? Crap. Oh well, I'll just clean it up with the grinder best I can. Damn. I reckon this will work brilliantly. Okay, so bar through there. And it's important we get the alignment about right, isn't it? Otherwise it's all going to be a bit Pete Tong gone wrong, right? Pete Tong wrong. Okay, so we'll push that down to there. Now I know that this is square, so we're good there. Lift that up. Now I've got a little one for this side. Do the same here. Make sure they're both in contact. That one isn't. Well, it was a James May bit, wasn't it there? That one isn't. Why are you not working? Try it that way around. A bit more power. Yes, that's on. And we're on the sides. Okay, so we should be about square at that point. I do have, will it work? I will require a spacer for the side that I can use a square across the top of here as well, because these are all the same thickness and everything. That would work. Is it in alignment that way? I'm going to have to eyeball that. Yes, the ruler is parallel to that, so we're good that way, which we should be pretty close anyway. Okay, so spacer on the side. Offer the square up. Does it look square? Yes, good enough for me. One, two. Pretty good. Look at that. Nice. All looks pretty aligned to me. Okay, very happy with that. Next job is to make the brackets that come up the side. So I need to measure the diameter of that bar, which is just a little bit too big to go in the lathe. How frustrating that was. Okay, what have we got? .46. God damn it! Isn't that an inch? Exactly an inch. Near as damn it. I wonder what size hole saw I've got. Sure as hell haven't got a 25.46 or 1 inch drill bit. What have we got in here? I've got a 25. And they always cut slightly oversized, don't they? And it can be a tight fit because it's obviously the bearings are what we just welded in. And I mean, hey, how hard could it be to just machine out? Oh, sorry, machine. File out a little bit so it fits. I reckon we might be in luck. Let's just measure across the teeth and see what that has to say. It's already 25.1, 25.2, so, man, we're going to be really, really, really close. Do I roll the dice and use the hole saw? I'm going to have to do it. I don't have much choice. Okay, I think it's the small one. The small arbor. There we go. Good to go. Okie dokie. Right, we can do the holes. We're pretty close to the holes anyway. So how wide and how tall do these brackets need to be? Well, this is 75 on that profile of the box, and I think it needs to be a little bit wider than that. So if we go for, I think 100's too much. 90, let's do 90 in that direction. And height wise, well, 100? Or could we get away with 90? I need to have a measure up. Bear with me. Alright, I should have done this earlier on, shouldn't I really? But anyway, probably did, just forgot. So approximately the centre to the outside is 30 mil. We need to allow room for the weld and so on. So we could do 45 would be fine for that, to the centre point. And then centre point up really needs to cover this section here. Doesn't really need to go much further than that. So 30 will be fine that way. So 45 or 30, 85. Let's make it 90. 90 by 90 square. That'll be fine. Now the benefit of making it 90 by 90 square is when we come to mark out the hole. So there's your square look, equal sides, 90 by 90. We can just draw a line from the corners, opposite corners like that, and that'll find the centre really easily. And I like easy, not hard. You're going to laugh, this is more of a woodworking tool, but the way it's designed, but it sits on there quite nicely, and then we can mark 90 in the rust. Almost 90. Okay. Okay, it should be quite square, this thing, to be fair. So, will those line up? Not far off. This one was the better one, so we'll go with that. Okay. Could do with a sharper scribe. There we go. Quick check. Not that it's that important, this bit. Near enough. Okay, and now we need to mark 90 from the side, so I hope we can get 2 out of this. Oh yeah, we can, that's good. Okay. And you should never do that really. Always stick to your same side. But we don't know how thick the cut's going to be, so one would end up smaller, so we'll do it from this side. Okay, there's the other 90 there, look. So we've got a bit of spare in the middle. Okay. Not a lot of spare. But that is the spare bit down there, look. Don't need that, that's rubbish. For those of you wondering, I got a really nasty sty on my left eye and it sort of got a bit better. And now it's getting worse again. Not good. But anyway, we'll crack on. I'll get these cut out. I'm going to have a bit of lunch and then we'll mark them up and hole saw them with this little tiny Priscilla pillar drill, because my big one, the Holly Pro, is still broken. Not good. But luckily it's quite soft, this material, so it shouldn't be too hard. Right, here's another word from Tool Girl Holly. I'm going to crack on. See you later. Over to you, Holly.
Hey! While Andy's doing that, check out my Instagram page, Tool Girl Holly.
Thanks, Holly. Appreciate it. Right, pizza is done. Cheers, Ben. Ben brought us pizza last night and there was some left over. So, perfect lunch. So, yes, here we go. All cleaned up on the cut lines and everything. Let's get it marked out and hole sawed. Ta-da! Okay. Are they both the same? That's the question. They should be, shouldn't they? Yeah, fraction wider that one that way. But hey, good enough for this job. Right, only need to mark out one, and then we can transfer the hole to the other one. There we go. I will hole punch that, and we need to mark the orientation of the second one. Very important, so that they're both, you know, got the same distance down to the base. This being the critical measurement here. The distance from here to there is the only critical one. So we'll do our best to make sure it's right. Well, that one's already got an arrow. Let's give that one an arrow. And maybe I'll tack them together. It's a good little trick. Tack them together with a welder, you know, and then that way that hole is guaranteed to be in exactly the right place. Reckon that'll work. We've got a piece of sacrificial steel underneath because, you know, if we go all the way through, we don't want to damage Priscilla. Mrs. Mechanic can go mental. Halfway through the first one. This is a very small pillar drill we're doing this with. I've got to be very careful not to overload it. Excellent. Okay, we're through the first one. We'll get rid of all that. Jeez, swarf. Workshop's full of swarf at the moment. Could be there. Nearly, he says. There we go. Hot as the sun, obviously. Okay, that's one out. We will continue. Right, we're well into the second one now, so I'm just going to unclamp it and cut off the spot welds, because obviously what's happening is the swarf is getting trapped because the top plate's in place. So I'll do that. It won't take a minute. We are back in action. Done. Boom. Excellent. Wasn't sure if we were through or not, but we are. I had to increase the layer of sacrificial steel with 2 layers now, because I measured the length of the drill bit protruding and it would have actually gone into the deck of the pillar drill. So I'd have been in big trouble. So I avoided that one. Wasn't ideal. Right. There we go. I wonder if it fits. Who knows? We'll find out. Alright, place your bets now. Is it going to be big enough, or do I have to do some more work? It actually fits. Good old hole saws. It's not too bad actually. That will work just fine. That one's alright. Yes, that one's alright as well. Phew. We can get them welded on now. Yes! Whew, it's starting finally to come together. So, arrow is up, don't forget. So we'll stick it to the outside to remind us. Okay. Arrow up. Okay. So I think we should bring that back to here. That gives us, it gets the whole thing in alignment. And all we need to worry about now is side to side. So I've had a tidy up. So my ruler is now over there. God damn it. Okay. 10.3. Man, that's about bang on. Okay, so these brackets now need to be tacked into place. I need to make sure that they're square and vertical and all that kind of stuff, so we can use the squares for that. I'll do the trick. Put that on there. Nice. And we will just, because we're just tacking, that's all we're doing. I think we are. Right, let's get it tacked in. We've got the pivot on the engine side, which is good. And then all I need to do then is drill and pin the shaft. We've got plenty of spare shaft, but that's fine. Now, when I weld this in, it's probably going to try and pull these either way. So what I need to do is brace it up. So I'll put a piece between the two, I think. Okay, let's tie the two together at least. I did make an error earlier on. I forgot to clean off the galv, but it is super thin on these, so you can weld through it, but it's not ideal. Whew, right, well, we'll get that top piece cut off. It looks like Mrs. Mechanic's got a lot of splatter to clean up. Damn it. Not ideal, is it? Look at all that. And round here. Partly because of the galv, I think. That's just nasty. We're there. So how does that look? That looks pretty good, doesn't it? Yes. That'll do, grommet. Okay, next job. I can now weld up the two bush brackets that are tack welded into the upright. We'll do that. And then I've got to make a decision. Am I going to tackle the top piece, which rotates the engine, or am I going to tackle the wheels? Because they are basically the last two bits left to do, other than the method of adjustment for that vertical piece. And I want to just think about that for a bit longer before we get there. I need a cunning plan for that. Yes. It'll be a very simple solution. I just need to think of it. Okay, more welding. Weldy, weld, weld, weld. So much welding. That'll do, grommet. Not too concerned about the little gap in the middle. It's plenty strong enough. And that will help for, I don't know, little mice to get around, I suppose. That was quick, wasn't it? So I've decided to tackle the engine mount, the bit at the top of post A, which rotates the engine. And, you know, I said earlier on I was in a bit of a dilemma. You know, maybe changing tack from using the Patron hub. And the reason for that is with that stuff that I got from the gym equipment, there was another kind of sort of bearingy bush thing which works on the same size bar. I'll hold it up for you. This is it. There's two of these, and of course it moves and rotates. It's like a linear bearing, and it rotates on the shaft. But the problem is, it's only 1 inch diameter steel shaft. I don't think it's going to cope with the engine hanging off it. I think it's going to bend. And the whole purpose of this is for it not to do that. Plus, to be fair, these could be really useful for something else. So, back to the Patron hub it is. Okie dokie. So I've marked the centre line at 95mm down from the top, which was the plan. That means that the brake disc will protrude above here, and we can put a piece of angle on and have a pin once I've drilled the disc. Now, I've removed the stub axle from the hub assembly, and it looks to me like this piece at the back here with the needle roller bearing appears to be a separate part. This looks like a machined part, whereas this obviously is cast in some way. So it'd be quite good to get that out, or machine it out, one or the other. But it is, to all intents and purposes, I'm going to class that as sacrificial. So I'll need to hole saw, put a hole here with a hole saw, big enough to clear the remnants of this. Ideally, right to this diameter here, but I don't have a hole saw that big, so that's a bit of a problem. And all I can do is work with what I've got. So I know I've got a hole saw that big, so I'll get that hole cut, and then maybe I'm just going to have to put a couple of washers behind each of these bolts to lift this off. There's no way I can bolt it up with an air gap because it could cause this to bend or fracture. The other option is chuck it in the lathe and try and machine that back. But we would be reducing some of the strength of this component. And to be fair, it needs all the strength it can get. So I'm reluctant to do that. Ideally, to cut this out big enough to recess that. Now, another option I've just thought of today is, if I want to, I could actually get a piece of solid bar and insert it through the middle of this. That would then go through to the other side of this box and get welded into place. That would certainly beef this up quite considerably, and then it's guaranteed to be fine. I'm pretty confident it's going to be okay anyway, because they're very, very strong, are these. Okay, hole saw time. I was just thinking, if I was going to hole saw, I may as well use the biggest one I've got. Would make sense, wouldn't it? So it only just does it. All right, it's a brand new one, never been used. I don't use this sort of stuff. These have done loads and loads of work, and I'm very, very impressed with them. The brand is Holemaker Precision Cutting Tools. Bloody awesome. Got these from ISL Industrial, actually, the people that supply me the 10 tools and who sponsor the channel. I should say support the channel, not sponsor it. They support the channel. There's no monetary element to it. But nonetheless, they have been fantastic over the years. And these are good tools. They really are. Well, the hole is sawn. Let me show you. Okay, ta-da! So that gives us clearance for that bit at the back of the hub. I did have a quick go at machining it. It doesn't want to know, not on my little lathe. It'll take me all day. So it's not going to happen. So I came up with another plan. Because obviously we've got a gap, haven't we, that we need to fill to keep everything nice and super strong. So I'm in the process of making this. Now don't worry about the bolt in the middle. That's just so I can mount it in the lathe. But I'm basically making a plate, a spacer plate, which will have the 6 holes around. And this bit that's machined will disappear into the oblivion. The only bit we need is this bit here, this ring. So that'll get cut out, and then I will drill the 6 holes to match in this, and then this will be the spacer for that. And this may well get welded on. It'll act as a bit like a spreader plate as well, which would be pretty cool. Okay, so Mrs. Mechanic has summons me. It's about 6:30 in the evening, really. I was afternoon, evening. Tea's almost ready. Roast pork. Can't wait. Obviously, there's a lot more still to do that I'm going to get finished today. So I'll be back on it next Saturday. But yeah, shit happens, right? Projects take longer, and best to do a good job rather than just rush it. See you in a few seconds, which will be in 6 days' time. Now then, crew, I'm back. It's Saturday, and it's actually Saturday afternoon, and I've got a bit more done. So let me show you what I'm up to. Okay, oh, hang on, we'll turn that off because that kills the audio. There we go. That's my cooling device for the bimetal strip. Don't worry about that, everything's fine. So this is where we're at now. That ring is now getting the centerpiece machined out. I had to make a carrier to hold it in the chuck, because my chuck doesn't go big enough to machine the inside, you know, because you've got to hold it on the outside on a proper chuck. So I had to make this piece here and then machine the mating face so it was perfect, otherwise it was blub, 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 like that. And then I made the holes in here oversized so then I could center it, you know, the dial indicator, and then I'm busy chomping out the center bit. So we'll do a bit of that. Okay, I've left the air supply off my cooling system so that it doesn't annoy you on the video. It'll do a few minutes without it, it's not that bad. Just putting lots of this goop on because it gets quite hot. Okay, you ready? Okay, let's see where we're at. This is measured. This is set to the stub axle bit. Still got about another 2, maybe 3 mil still to go. Well, about another 2 mil to take off because obviously it's double. So I won't bore you tremendously with this. I'm just going to crack on. See you shortly. Must be there by now. Let's have a look. Oh yeah. Alright, I'm going to do a couple more cuts just to make sure we've got plenty of clearance, because once I take this out of the jig it's going to be almost impossible to realign it again to take more cuts. You have to be off centre, and it was a ball ache the first time round, and I really haven't got time for that, so it won't harm to have a bit of extra clearance, that's all I'm saying. Okay, there we go. What a mess. God. Nice. Looking good. Amazing amount of work for such a small piece, but hey, you know, making it for Ben, it's got to be right? Okay, let's change the tool. Dum, dum, dum. Thank you, Simon. Awesome tool holder, post holder. Very, very impressed. Get rid of that one. Stick him over there. We'll have that one. Should be able to do it from this side, hopefully. Who knows? I tend to do some slightly alternative type of engineering, as people keep reminding me. Well, that'll be enough. I just want to take the sharp edge off there, put a little tiny chamfer on it, so this should do the trick, he says. Hopefully we won't crash into the bolts. Fingers crossed. Always do a little test. Oh, we are going to crash into the bolts. Big time. Alright, we can machine the bolts down as well, can't we? This'll be fun. That'll do, Gromit. That'll do me. Ooh. Right. Mrs. Mechanic's telling me lunch is ready. But before we have lunch, I've got another surprise for you. God damn it, look at the state of that. Okay, job done. We'll get disassembled. So, while that's cooling down, it's going to be lunchtime. Now, last night, I fell asleep watching TV, which is quite normal for me. And when I woke up, this is what had happened. I mean, come on, Mrs. Mechanic. Really? She was laughing her head off when I woke up because it was all stuck up as well. It's not a good look, is it? As Tool Girl Holly would say, it's not a good look, Andy. Anyway, I'm off for some lunch. See you later on. Right, I'm back. Pork sandwiches for lunch. Hot pork sandwiches. Very nice. Thank you, Mrs. Mechanic. So, it's out of the lathe. It's finished. And it's slightly oversized, so hopefully it'll fit. Now, you might be asking, Andy, how on earth did you manage to get the middle bit out? Because remember, this was the middle of that disc. And I was having a little think. I didn't want to hole saw it again because it's knocking the 7 bells of shit out of the little pillar drill. I thought, plasma cutter. So for those that haven't yet seen the plasma cutter, I'll show you that next. So here you go. This was purchased a few years ago. I haven't really used it very much. And there's a reason why I've not used it very much. And the reason is this. The electrician put me a 40 amp supply in for the MIG. There's the MIG. Thank you very much, Mr. Electrician. Great job. And he said, I'm putting you one of these big plugs on that we normally use for 3-phase stuff because that's the only thing I've got that'll cope with the current. Okay, and he says, you only to ever use it with the MIG welder. Okay, well, today I made an adapter. So it's down to a 16 amp plug, so now I can plug in the plasma cutter. Okay, and I've put one of the 16 amp plugs back on the MIG, which is, oh, there you look, the original plug from 30 years ago. I found it and put it back on again. I'm sure it'll be fine. It hasn't caught fire. It's okay. But the plasma cutter, what a cool piece of kit. Look at this. So we'll turn him on. SIG weld. It's got this really cool screen on it, look. And you can do, air pressure. Yes, there's no air pressure. There you go. So it tells you when the air pressure's down. And the airline's not plugged in because we've been using it on the lathe to cool the bimetal strip. So there you go. What a clever machine it is. But it's been really, really good. I've only really started to use it properly. And if we come, I'll turn it off. Turn it off. There we go. If we go back over here, and I'll show you what I had to do what I did. Bear with us. I plasma cut out the middle. So Andy, how did you do that? Well, the bit that we took out of the box section, which was this piece here, I just cleaned it up a little bit. This was hole sawed out, remember? And I drilled a hole in the middle, 12mm. And use that as a guide with the plasma cutter, so I could just put the plasma cutter against here, the nozzle. There's a couple of little fingers on the nozzle. Run it round there, and cut this out. I had to keep moving it around and doing little bits because I couldn't do it all the way around in one go. But it came out pretty well, actually. I was quite surprised because I've not used it very much, so I was just getting the hang of it. And the cut was reasonably tidy. Haven't quite worked out exactly how much amps to set the machine on for various thicknesses of steel. This is 6mm plate. I think I used about 26 amps from memory. And it worked okay. And then I ended up with obviously this disc with this bit cut out, which is a lot smaller than what we've got left. That's why I had to machine it. And my chuck on my little Boxford isn't big enough to hold the outside of this disc. Unfortunately, it's nowhere near big enough. So I had to make a carrier. And that's what this plate is on the back. Big thick steel plate, hole in the middle, big thick old bolt, and then a couple of bolts here to mount the disc. And these two holes actually are two of the holes that I need to drill for the stub axle. Okay, so I did plan ahead. And when I first put it in, it was a bit wibbly wobbly. So I took this disc back off again and I machined down the face point of this steel plate to get it all perpendicular to the shaft, right? And then I used a couple of washers just to space it. 3mm washers, because obviously I've got to get the cutting bit all the way in on the inside of this disc. And then I realised it had a bit of lift. It still wasn't central. So I drilled these holes in the big thick plate at the back from 10 to 12, and then had a bit of wiggle room to centralise this. Got it all centralised, the DTI, bolted these up nice and tight. Hey presto, we can now start to do some machining. And it worked out. It actually came out a lot better than I first thought it was going to do. So a lot of work for one piece for this engine stand. Seriously. Why do I do this stuff? Okay, I know, more waffle, but it took me a little bit of working out what to do, you know, and then I realised, oh yeah, we've got a plasma cutter. Why don't we use that, Andy? Oh yeah, because you haven't got any power for it, so I had to do the wiring, blah, blah, blah. But we've got to the point now where I can take this off the carrier, mark out the other 4 holes, drill them, have a quick clean up, because there's still a few sharp edges and stuff on here, quick clean up with the flap disc, and then we can put it onto the box section. So, here we go. It's not going to go back on again. It'll take me ages to line that up again now. Right. That's what we needed. We don't need any of this. Ugh. Filthy, innit? Right, let's give that a quick wipe. Now the carrier, this carrier could well be useful in the future as well. So I'm not going to throw it away or disassemble it. We will use that again, I'm quite sure, for something else. It didn't take me that long to make it, about half an hour, so pretty impressed. Okay, that'll do. It's good enough for me. Don't know where to keep it. We'll put it over there for now. Okay, I'll get this cleaned up and then we'll start marking some more holes out. Is it going to fit? Oh yes, with a little bit of clearance as planned. Excellent. So we'll use these 2 bolts just to hold that in place for now. Are those the central ones? Oh, they are. Well done, Andy. Good job. We'll stick those on there. And it gives us about 1 mil extra clearance underneath. So this plate's about 1 mil thicker than what we really needed, but it's all I had, which is fine. It'll work brilliantly. Okay, so 16 or 16 and a 17, I think, for those, or 2 16s. I can't remember because they're a stupid size. That's one. Okay, time to do some more drilling. Now, it's not often I'd ever go straight through the 10mm drill bit, but hey, in these kind of cases, it's the easiest way of doing it. In fact, I'll mark them and then we'll take it off and do it in, finish them off in Priscilla. How's that? Ooh, a bit squeaky. Might need to sharpen the drill bit. Okay. That's better. Slower speed, more push. Now, not entirely sure. I think they are equally spaced. What we'll do is we'll just mark a line across the 2, and then we know if we line the lines up, all the bolt holes will line up. Simple, isn't it? Right, said Fred. And so far, I've not had to modify this at all. So this is a completely standard stub axle. And that's what I wanted to keep it as, really. because you never know, you might want to use it again. Now this is the slowest speed Priscilla goes at before you say anything. An awful lot of work for one little plate, and I could have used washers, but that wouldn't have been as good, to be fair. Last one. Right, so we'll just run a countersink through those, so there's no sharp burrs and stuff. Nice. Okie dokie, get all the swarf off. Right, so if we put that in that orientation, the holes are all the way in because the box section is not quite wide enough to have them like that. These two are too close to the walls, so flick it round. I'll be able to mark it out, but that's somewhere, it's roughly where it's going to go. Now, where's the little yellow line? There he is. So we'll line the yellow lines up. You can't see that on the camera, but I'm lining the yellow lines up just because. Okay, so it's going to be something like that. They're all far enough in to get the nuts on the inside of the box. Yeah, a bit fiddly, but easy to do. Should be fine. Okay, so I need to get that accurately positioned. I'm not just going to guess it. There's a bit of wiggle room because the hole that we did with the hole saw was slightly oversized, so it doesn't have to be bang on, as long as it's, you know, a clearance hole. And then we'll get that clamped down and mark the holes, drill the holes, bolt it up. Easy as that. Right, I've got two little brass 10mm dowels in there to keep the two lined up. We're going to drill these four first, we'll bolt that in, and then we'll drill the last two. So again, I'm just going to mark it out. Can I get to that one? Going to massage my clamps a bit. Put you over there. That's one. Right. Now let's mark this to the box as well, just as a reference. Okay, that can come off. Nice. And I'll get this drilled on Priscilla. That'll be fun. Okay. Here goes. Way! than drilling them with a little pistol drill, wasn't it? We won't need these little dowels anymore. Okay. So we did a little line, didn't we? Where was it? Like that, I think it should be. Looks about right. Hang on. There we go. Okay. Of course, one goes in. Opposite. Yes. Are they long enough? They're long enough for this job, just for marking it. Oh shit! That was sharp. Bit of a burr on the back of that one. Holy moly, Mr. Young! You should know better than that. Okay. There we go. Right, nuts are going on. And then once these are all tightened up, we can mark out those last two. In fact, what we'll do is we'll put those dowels in now, just to get it all perfectly aligned, because it doesn't align perfectly with just the bolts, because they're not actually 10mm, are they? They're a bit under. Sorry, just fighting swarf at the moment. That's that one. Let's go for one bit further down, see if we can get that. This is what you need. Maybe this is mechanics, you get a whole bloody hand in it, no problem at all. Bear with the powers of editing. Oh, Mr. Thumb's going to have to go in. Yes. Come back. Oh, it's gone right down the bottom. We'll use this one. There we go. Okay, we'll do the other bottom one while we're able to do that kind of stuff. Yes, come on, swarf. There we go. One more to go. Get me nut. Right, is it that one? No, it's this one. Okay. Right, impact gun. 16 nuts, that one actually, I think. Nice. Okay, pull the dowels out, he says. Need some pliers. Get that one out. Pop. Okay, perfectly aligned. And now I just need to drill those two. I wonder if I can get it in, Priscilla, with this in place. Let's have a go. Yeah, I think we're going to be all right. One. Hey. Cool. Woohoo! Dangerous. Danger, Will Robinson, danger. Right, back to the bench. Right, so we're going to be using slightly longer bolts for the final bolts. And the reason for that is I need to use nylocks. Really don't want this thing coming loose again in the future. So, get rid of those non-nylon nuts. Great for assembly purposes. Not great for final assembly. You know, test fit's great. Okay, now we're not going to put any washers on this side because there is limited space, because obviously we've got the hub to go on. But they have bolts there, that's how they work, so you know, it shouldn't be a problem. Right. 2, 3. Come on, you went in there before. Okay, got one that's a little bit awkward. Okay, very strange. 2 that are a bit awkward. I'll just run a. We'll get these 4 done up, and I'll just run a drill through. Bizarre that. Anyway, okay, we've got big ass washers and nylocks just to act a bit more of a spreader on the box section, so it doesn't deform. Because there's a tremendous amount of stress on this thing. I don't know yet if it's going to work or not, to be honest. But I do know, I found out this morning of another gentleman that I know, Sheldon, who did basically the same thing. He used a Land Cruiser front hub to do the same job. And I thought, man, that's pretty cool that we're both thinking the same way here. Now, bear with, this is not going to be easy. But hopefully it'll never have to come off again, will it? Alright, I'm going to get this finished and I'll come back. It's not cheating, it's not cheating. That's all it was, a bit of a burr. We were pretty damn close. Okay, in you go. Why? Why? I put the drill bit through, come on. There we go. Okay, now I worked out the best way of doing the washers. Put it on its side, Andy. Put it on its side. Then you can put the washers on first, and then the nuts. Rather than trying to do it all at once, fighting gravity. Looks good with that spacer, doesn't it? It looks so much better than with washers wedged under it. Pleased with that. It's definitely worth doing, because this is Ben's birthday present, right? You know, and you've got to set an example to your kids, I think, of doing things the right way. Now, bear with me. There's not a lot of room in there now. There we go. Okay. Boom! Sorry, earthquakes. Wrong size. Just that one. Job done. Looks good, doesn't it? I'm very pleased with that. Wonder if the hub fits. Hope so. Incoming. Right. Oh yeah. Oh, loads of clearance. Excellent. I like that. Okay, well, we still have the disc to drill, but I'm going to have to put the nut on here just to hold it all in when I put it up in the stand. Otherwise, it'll fall off. There we go. I'll spin that in, and it's not going to fall off then, is it? What have we got? Ben's got the special tool for tightening these up. He's guarding it with his life because he knows I want it. There we are, that'll do for now. Coolio. And the disc sits proud of the box, which is exactly what I wanted. Now there's still going to be a big steel plate that, well, hopefully some really thick steel goes over here. Now, I don't think we can use the studs. Or the other option is we could maybe pop the studs out. We'll take the disc off anyway. Pop the studs out, forget those, and use the bolts that hold the disc on. I'm not sure on the threads. I don't want to re-drill these because I want to keep the hub standard. So if I was to use those bolt holes, and they're already on the disc, so I can use the disc to transfer them across, easy. We've just got to use these longer bolts, basically, and that would work just fine. So a big plate's going to go on here, and then off that oblong plate with the 4 fingers that then you can adjust and slide in and out that go onto the block. Hoo-hoo! Got something else that turns it now. It's looking good, isn't it? Been having a think. So, if we use the bolts, longer bolts, that thread into the brake disc, the threads are actually part of the brake disc. Will it be strong enough? I mean, the disc is only cast, and those threads could pull. Remember, there's a huge, great engine hanging off those 6 bolts. Would it not be better to pop out the wheel studs and use bolts through the wheel stud holes in the hub? I think so. We can then use high tensile bolts. So to do that, we have to still take the disc off. That's going to be fun. They're usually rusted on big time. Let's give it a go. There's going to be some earthquakes. He's coming. Nice. Right. Okay, that is all washers, all very rusty bolts out. Next job. Really, I should take the hub back off and clean up the back of the hub where the disc comes off. Otherwise, it's going to make it 10 times harder. So I'll do that next. On and off, on and off. Yes, so you can see here, look. There's quite a bit of hub still here, basically protruding. So the disc is going to come off that, and they often rust up really badly. So I'll give this a bit of a clean up. You saw that when Ben was doing his patrol, actually, putting new discs on. So we'll give that a bit of a clean up, and then we'll refit it and give it a good whack with a magic hammer. And I reckon it'll come off. We'll be all right. Okay, wire brush. In fact, we can scribe around there first. That's probably the best thing to do. Right in that groove there. Cool. we'll stick a bit of penetration oil in there. Bit of black magic should do the trick. Hopefully some of that will seep down between the joint, just help free it off. Okay. Now this time I'm going to nip the bearings a bit tighter because I'm going to be smashing 7 bales of crap out of the whole thing. Hello, don't get so mad. Okay, I'm going to clamp the box section down onto the vise, onto the bench, just to minimise that bounce, and then we should get full impact down, which is what we need. What have we got? G-clamp. It'd be better if that was off the bench, really. And then I could clamp that end as well, but we'll see how we get on. Here goes. We don't want to break the disc. That would be bad. Wait. There we go. Easy. Oh, it's almost time for a tidy up. Jesus. Okay. Perfect. Look at the state of that. Okay, so with the brake disc off, we can now. Whoa, there goes the ball. That's the young. Put the bearing back in, put the nut back on, knock out the studs. Let me get the bearing. It's full of workshop crap now, isn't it? I bet it is. Oh no. Fixed. If it ever went back on the road, this hub, believe me, it'd be getting new bearings anyway, because they're not great. Okay. So we'll do exactly the same thing now with the disc. You've got to take the disc off to knock the studs out. That's just how it is. Okay, here we go. Actually really helps when it's bolted to something really solid. Right, we'll keep those for Ben. They can go as patrol parts. So now, basically, there's plenty of clearance there for a nut. I don't really want to drill them though. I wonder what diameter they are. Hang on. Let's try a 12mm bolt. Well, there's a 10. So a 10 goes too easy. Okay, so M12 bolt through where the studs were. Plenty of room, plenty of clearance. Happy with that. We've got the stud pattern. I was going to say on the disc. Is it exactly the same? Oh, it's not going to go on there. Okay, I think it is. I think the disc pattern is the same as the stud pattern because they're all equidistant. It does look to be in the same diameter for the centre, the same radius. So we could win there. But saying that, the big steel plate that's going to go on, I have to cut out again with the plasma or somehow the center here, so it's got clearance. We can clamp the plate on, we can drill them from the back through the stud holes if need be, or at least mark them out that way. Like I say, I don't want to damage these stud holes because, hey, one day it might get new studs in and go back on the road because one day we're going to run out of patrol parts. It's just the way it is. Okay, as regards the disc, the only thing we have to do to the disc at a later stage is it's going to end up with 4 holes in it, and there'll be a bit of angle iron at the top of this box section which will run against it, and there'll be either a pin or I might even use a bolt. So you just set it to where you want it, put the bolt through, nip it up, and that will give it would give you a bit of security. You know, if the hub was to fail, then it might give you a little bit of time to get out of the way. I don't think it will, but it gives you that secondary safety level, doesn't it? Because it's bolted, can't fall off. Plus, you know, it's just extra, it's just stronger. It's not, you're not rotating the engine that often, so it shouldn't be a problem. Okay, so next step is the big plate. Okay, let me show you what I've got for that. I've been very lucky, and there's a story behind it. So, on Friday, when I went through Taupo, I thought, I'm going to have to sort some metal out for this big plate. The big plate that has the 4 mounts for the engine block. Because I absolutely haven't got anything anywhere near big enough. And now, I know this was a scrap heap challenge, but there just isn't anything. So I had to get something. So I popped into my mates, to see my mates, in Asmus in Taupo, and I said, hey, you haven't got any offcuts of 25mm or thereabouts mild steel plate, have you? I need something about, I don't know, 300 by 400 maybe, mil? No, sorry Andy, we can't help you. We'll sell you lots of other stuff, but you'll have to buy a full sheet. I was like, holy crap, that's going to be really expensive. How much would that be? That's $1,300 plus GST. Not an option. I'd called in at Gisborne Engineering previously and asked them to price me up from a cut sheet, you know, so they would cut it out for me. And they came up with $380 plus GST for the plate and 4 other small pieces that I needed. Still too expensive. I can't afford that. I'm not paying that. So I left Gisborne, went to Taupo. Asmus didn't work out. But Asmus lads, he said, hey, I'll have a look on the computer and see who we've sold these sheets to recently. And one of the businesses was just over the road. Damon Collins Engineering. Never heard of the guy. I thought, well, I'm here now. It's a minute's drive from where I am. So I rang him up and I said, hey, this is a really weird request. But at Asmus, they tell me you bought one of these sheets not too long ago. Did you use the whole sheet? If not, have you got any offcuts? Yes, we have. Come on down, we'll have a look. So off I went into the workshop and met Damon. And he said, there you go. There's a couple of bits on the floor there, look. And I had a quick look. This was one of them. It's a fair size. It's pretty damned heavy too. And the other one is a little bit smaller and a bit more of a weird shape. But it'll work. So I said to Damon, perfect. And he says, well, there's 2 sheets. That one there and this other one. You can have them both. And I'm like, well, what's it going to cost me, Damon? Because I haven't got a lot of money. This is a budget build. I told him what I was doing, building this engine stand for Ben for his patrol engine. And they said, well, it's real thirsty around here. Ting! Light bulb. In New Zealand, I know exactly what that means. So I said, well, what's your poison? And he said, well, Corona. How about a box per sheet, per piece? Yep, no problem. So zoomed off to get a couple of boxes of Corona, zoomed back, and did the deal. And he even loaded them back of the ute for me. How cool was that? What a bloke. We had a quick chat, and he said, look, any cut-offs you ever need, just pop back. Come and see us. We'll sort you out. So another really good contact made here in New Zealand, and it's those contacts that really help keep costs down. So on this particular sheet here, and I'll be very clear, it shouldn't go anywhere. I've drilled a hole in it and put a shackle on it, so it should be all right. We should easily get the big steel plate. Now I've got to whiz outside and take another look at Ben's old stand to see what size the plate was on that, measure up the engine, work things out, and then get the plate cut. Now, unfortunately, I did a test cut with the plasma cutter earlier on this morning. There is no way my little plasma cutter is going to chomp its way through 25 millimeters of sheet steel. It'll do about 17 or 18, but it wouldn't do the whole plate. So that's not going to work. The only way I can cut this thick plate is with a slit disc. I know, it's going to take me ages and it's going to be real dusty. So there's no point in me filming that. I'll come back to that. It's going to take me the rest of the day to do that, right? So I will see you guys on day 4 tomorrow after the live stream. This is going on for ages. I've got so much more to do. Okay, crew, that brings us to the end of episode 2 on building the ultimate engine stand. I know I've just given it a new name, haven't I? Thank you very much for watching this video. If you're not yet subscribed to the channel, click on the subscribe button somewhere up there and ring the bell, and then that way YouTube will send you notifications as and when I upload any new videos. And of course there'll be episode 3. Pretty sure there's going to be another episode. The stand's not yet finished. If you want to support the channel, you can do that through Patreon or PayPal. If it's Patreon, you can just become a patron, and you can do a monthly donation or a one-off donation, whatever you like. There's a few tiers on there that you can unlock and get some access to additional stuff. If it's PayPal, then don't send it as a donation, please. They don't like that. It needs just to be a payment. To receive donations at this end, I have to be a registered charity, and I'm not a registered charity. So just a normal payment will be great. A couple of bucks goes a long way, you know. A few hundred people send that in, makes a big difference to these future projects. If it is PayPal, then send it to andymechanic@live.co.uk. Email address is just down the bottom there, look in the screen. You can also email me on that same email address, and I'll do my very best to get back to you. Apologies if it ends up in spam. I do check that folder every now and again, and you know, maybe I can help you, maybe I can't, who knows. You'll also find me on Facebook and Instagram, so you can check out those 2 portals. And there's loads and loads of photos from all, especially on Facebook, lots and lots of old photos you can trawl through about how the Andy Mechanic YouTube channel came to be in the early days. You know, we've been going about 10 years now. It's been a while. The Instagram, somebody stole the account, did some Bitcoin stuff, so it's a relatively new account, so not quite so much history on there. Okay, crew, I'll see you in episode 3 soon. Thanks for watching. Cheers. Over and out. And we get the flip again.
Oh!
Really?